Hello, and welcome to this edition of Coffee Break Conservation, where today we're going to look at the question, are septic tanks still legally compliant? So here we have the lid over a septic tank. It's located in a field and there are no nearby watercourses around. When we talk about compliance of private drainage systems, we are referring to the general binding rules, which were first introduced in 2015 with the expectation of compliance by 2020. Unfortunately, it seems that for many properties that hasn't happened, although it is being increasingly picked up at the point of sale when surveyors or conveyancers raise the subject. The general binding rules were then updated further in 2023. They can be very complicated to read, and there are many different options that add to that complication. But for the purposes of this coffee break conservation video, we're just going to keep it nice and simple. Are septic tanks legally compliant or not? Well, in this particular image you see on screen, we've got the lid of a septic tank located in a field. There are no nearby watercourses or ponds of anything of that nature nearby. And the expectation in a rural septic tank like this would be that there would be an outflow from this tank into a series of soakaway land drain type of arrangement, in which case, as long as the volume of water in that tank, which is determined by the number of occupants in the house which it supplies, is relatively modest, then that probably could be legally compliant. I say that with some hesitation. You always need to look at the specifics, but for the purposes of general conversation, this is probably a situation that may well still be compliant if it has an outflow to soakaway. So I found this drawing from a previous survey I did a while ago, and this drawing is from 1971. And going from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the image, we can see in this case, the drain coming in was pitch fibre. I mean, we all know as surveyors now that that wouldn't be a best choice. But anyway, in this case, it's a pitch fibre coming in through an inspection chamber, then into the septic tank, then has an outflow into a filtration system, eventually pumped on the left-hand side of the image. And you can see the caption there, outlet to soakaway. So this is from 1971. And because it is intended to go to a soakaway, i.e. a drainage field where the ground itself will deal with any filtration, then that probably could be compliant. On the other hand, here we have a septic tank, and you see in the central part of the image, there's a outflow there into a stream, and this is a flow-in stream, not just a storm ditch. This is definitely not compliant. And if you were to discover this during a survey or a purchase position, then this is something that would need to now be replaced with a modern klargester or similar sewage treatment plant. So the first example I showed you probably might be compliant. This one definitely would not be compliant. It is no longer acceptable to have septic tanks outflow into watercourses, ponds, and this sort of thing. And here is a situation why it sometimes becomes complicated. So here we have a modern klargester. You see on the right-hand side of the image there, the lid over the filtration sewage treatment plants. This is an electrically operated plant with mechanisms in there and pumps in there and all sorts of gadgets which aid the sewage treatment. And on the left-hand side of this image, you see the plastic pipe which discharges into a natural pond, and there is a natural watercourse going into that. Under the general binding rules, that would be acceptable, and therefore that would be compliant. The first example I showed you wouldn't. In any situation, you do need to refresh yourself of the general binding rules, because there are many different rules and many different variations. But in general principle terms, it's true to say that a septic tank which discharges to a field drain is likely to be compliant. A septic tank which discharges to a watercourse or pond is not going to be compliant, and a modern sewage treatment plant, as we see here, which is a klargester, even with an outflow into a pond or watercourse, is likely to be compliant. But as I say, do check for your own specific circumstances. So there you go. Hopefully you'll find that of interest. Please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on social media and subscribe to our channels there. Thank you. We'll see you again.